Hey beauties, morning to you. There is a term that has been coined in the late 17th century into the early 18th century, and even a play. The playwright William Congreve had written his play called The Mourning. When you mourn, I'm not talking morning as in the day, as in when you are, you're sad and you're depressed and you're doing a lot of thinking about your heart being broken. And the term was coined, Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. There is nothing as dangerous as a woman who is very angry because she has been rejected by love or in love. And when I talk about in love, not being necessarily in love with, the person being in love with her, but the person who she's in love with rejected her, probably gave her the time of day for a moment, was a Casanova. And then when he sinks his fangs into her and she becomes poisoned in love, and then he rejects her and leaves her like a piece of bottle cap or a piece of lint, then she decides that she's not the only one that is going to go down. Her emotional break will not be the only broken pieces, but in any way and in every way she possibly can, she will break him to nothingness. And that is one of the most dastardly fearful things, myself being a woman, and to know that that term was coined because of some of the disastrous, decadent, evil, diabolical things that men have encountered because they themselves they have been very much unwise, sometimes cruel even, to allow a woman to give him his heart, very difficult for her to take it back. And then he leaves her like she's nothing. I never forgot years ago I watched a movie. I don't think I could ever watch that movie again. I don't remember the name of the actor and the actresses. The main actor and the main actress. I think the name of it was She-Devil. My God. And I vaguely remember her leaving him. He leaving her for, I think, a younger woman. The younger woman saga. And let me tell you something. I don't know if the devil could have thought of those diabolical ways to sink him. She didn't kill him, but it would almost spell sense for her to do so, because how she devastated his life. It was unfathomable. It was unimaginable. I was frightened. I felt as if I was watching literally a sci-fi horror show with Freddy Krueger and the other one there with a mask thing on his face, or something even worse, like the Saw or something. It was frightening. And then there was a true story dubbed the Woman Scorned, where the husband, again another situation where he left his wife. She was not necessarily a nice woman, neither was the one, the She-Devil, and let me tell you, she just couldn't get over it, and she went and killed both of them. And I'm saying all of this to say this: men, we're living in a dark time. We are living in a dark time. And just as how women are cautioned not to take a man's things if she's not interested, the very same I would give to you, that don't be a Casanova in the woman's life. The only thing that you want is to stick your third leg in her wheel, and then you move on. Sometimes that third leg leaves a scar, leaves a dent. And that dent, unfortunately, can't be erased. They can't use whatever heating element to get it out. And when you do that, you run the risk. It's a very risky situation, high risk for your lives to be snuffed out. Now, generally, statistics will prove that you don't find many women killing men because of how we are. We use, although there's no scientific proof that we use more of the right side of the brain, it's just based on our personality and the things that we do. Very flamboyant, very creative, how we are as women, just our femininity, that we express our emotions, because they always say that men are not emotional. You are. If you weren't, you are dead. You have a soul, and your soul is a composite of the mind, the will, and the emotions. So the women tend to, get in a more frenzy with their emotions. So they're very irate and very high strung, and you know how we are very expressive and will speak. So what they will do, they may not literally physically annihilate you, but what they do to your lives, my God, it would have almost been better that you just go home to glory and never return to earth's realm again, based on the devastation that they will cause in your lives. I encourage women, if you're not interested in the man, do not take his things. Don't lead him on, because you do have women who are like that. They will be quick. They don't get into a frenzy so quickly with their emotions. They bottle it, so they implode, but they get rid of you. And men, I know that third leg is a troubling leg. It is a leg that it just, when they have this little wheelie thing, it's like they always want to be not only on but in the wheelie. You have to develop a thing called emotional intelligence and a thing called self-control. Because if you don't, it will be to your demise. Even if it is not physical, it can become mental, it can become psychological, it can become, physical as in sexual. Let me take an arm of the physical. And sometimes you put your wives and children and other family members and friends' lives in the rut, in a serious decadence, in a serious situation. Stay faithful to your wives, stay faithful to your girlfriends if you're not interested. And you have to be very careful. I think I read a scripture that woe be unto that man, especially when he leaves his young wife, because you really put her in a difficult state. When you leave her, God is not going to excuse you. But I would prefer, if you really make up your mind, because God gave us volition, He gave us choices, it would be better that you leave and move on. Do not use these women. You go into it knowing that you are doing that. You know that the saying is coined. Women use sex to get love, while men use pretentious love. I call it infatuation, to get sex. It's not really love. You're not interested in her. Do not get involved. When I say interested in a long-term relationship, not interested in marrying her. Or some of you will go to the point of marriage just to get the sex. I've heard of a situation like that, literally here in Jamaica. He was so desperate to have sex with that woman that he went to the point of pretending that he was going to go through the marriage and then leave her on the honeymoon, so to speak. It was somebody who saw him at a hospital with his baby's mother and reported it to the woman. When I hear of cases of men, one man was outright dating a woman and looked at her and said, I'm getting married next week. One outrighted, and I mean, some of you men are so evil. You have to be diabolical in your hearts. Even if she's a terrible woman, you should have left her, because you will even ask women to iron your clothes. One man asked a woman to iron his clothes, telling her that he was going to some function. Somebody saw him getting married to another woman. He asked his girlfriend, No, that is beyond the evil. And when she went and touched his face because she could not believe it, I heard she lost her mind. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Because whatever seed we sow, we reap. They say karma is a bitch. It's a serious thing. It's like you get a proper bitch lick. I hate using that word. That's a terrible word. I feels like I'm cursing bad words. But it is a serious thing, men. You have to be very careful. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. It is real. It is serious. And women, sometimes I have to say it, maybe I have to coin this, hell hath no fury like a man scorned. Because you have some of these men who take it very serious. And when you take their things and they invest in you because of how their minds are wired, and they don't get into a frenzy like us emotionally. They internalize it. You put yourselves in problems. It's like a life or death. Don't use anyone. Please. I beseech of you. I ask of you. Guys, Follow me on TikTok. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please share this message.